that'll hopefully help me be able to tell if the thing's crap out on us. But otherwise, I'll do a quick like sound match. I don't have the cool how you doing. One day
We'll get there.
I mean, there's so much stuff I still need to like, I want to get, but I'm in that weird catch-22 situation still where it's like, I need the money to get the good shit.
On the production side, or
yeah,
on
like
a
new audio interface, like one new mixer, so I can use all my mics without issues, because having the good technology will prevent user error. Because right now, like all the mistakes with audio and stuff are pretty much on me, because I'm just an idiot.
There's no one else.
That's it. Everything is on me. So I want to get that. I want to get a better, like an actual camera, because I do a lot of times I want to look up stuff on my phone, because I got this other stuff on the screen here, and it's a pain in the ass to do that. And then eventually I'll lead to getting better mics for guests. And
what about like people calling in? Like
that's another thing I want to do.
Somebody just call in and you can work in the phone conversation.
Yeah,
into the video.
I think that's a combination of getting like the tech audio side good to go, and then also like the program available to do that, so that they can call in and I can hear it live while I'm recording. Because right now all the videos that I add in, like when I say I'm going to pop this video up, it's all in post, so I'm just guessing what it's going to sound like while I'm recording, and then afterwards I have to try to match up, like this is where I said the video is going to pop, so I'm going to pop the video up here. Whereas like the big timers, they'll be like, hey, check out this video, and they pop it up while they're recording. They're watching the video and you can hear that live with them. So they also have producers and a following and money. So it's just one of those things. Team. They got a whole team.
I'm looking at my notes. I'm already laughing. So I hope
you're just so into it. Yeah. All right, jabronis, we're back. Got to plug my computer in here. We got another special guest. I promised big things. I ran my dick sucker long enough about having big things coming, and we got big things, okay? We had Kerry in the last episode, Instagram famous Kerry, and now we got an even more special guest to me personally.
Sorry, Kerry.
And definitely to the junction, I know, is Terrence. Terrence Dolan. Thanks for finally being here.
Great to be here.
It has been a long time coming. We've been trying to get this in the works for a while. I know, everybody knows you got the kid you got to take care of. So it's been tough, logistically making it happen. So thanks a lot.
It's good to be on this side of it. I've been a listener and a viewer for so long. This is kind of surreal.
And a top character for the junction. I mean, your top two, it's you and Sausage and Peppers are easily the most talked about characters.
Oh, yeah.
So
character, concerned parent.
Yeah,
it all works.
There, I mean, maybe if you're putting your kid to bed before.
Well, this is a reunion of locker room talk.
It is.
Does your audience know about locker room talk?
I think I might have mentioned it a little bit in passing with my brother Nicky Sticks one time, where we were talking about, I think, the origin of Sorry Terrence. He was asking me, and I was like, "Well, funny story. We actually had a plan in place years ago."
It was really the start of the whole podcast industry.
I think so too. It was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
We'll get more into that for sure. I actually had that in my notes of hot topics we got to hit that the people are asking about. But before we do that, the drill. We'll knock out the important stuff first, the administrivia, and we'll step into the cage.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Edwin's Pumpkin Spice Enemas. Autumn is upon us, and we all know that means pumpkin spice is back and the basic bitches are on the prowl for it. Well, now you don't have to worry about waiting in those long lines at Star Schmucks for a PSL with a new Edwin's PS Enema. You see, with an Edwin's, hello. All you have to do is shove the custom-fitted enema right up your whale eye and fire that pumpkin spice goodness directly into your rectum for instant pumpkin spice bliss. So to get yours today, visit www.pumpkinspicepooper.com and use the promo code AutumnAsshole for 0.29% off.
Great.
I don't know about the deal, not even a 1%, but something we work with it, you know.
When do you write these?
I mean, these are real sponsors, Terrence. They write themselves.
How do you find these companies?
I mean, they kind of reach out. No, I write them usually if I see something in the ether, like on TV or in passing. Depending on where I am, I'll either take a quick note on my phone or I'll have my trusty notebook with me and I'll just get to sketching.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. The problem is they're not real. I'm not getting any income off of it. So the goal is one day, I'm not even going to mention, I'm just going to shock the world with a real sponsor. And you're never going to know if it's real or fake.
Right.
Maybe Edwin's will be real one day. But I got a cage fact. Again, I always offer it up to the guest, but it's not one of those like guilt trip situations with Carol Libretti situations where I'm going to make you do it. So I snagged one. It's kind of an update from a couple episodes ago where I mentioned his alleged drunken, disorderly situation in that steakhouse in Vegas. Well, an update to that is he's recovered from the alleged incident and he was seen like the next day back on set with Demi Moore. They're filming his next movie. It's called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Now that movie is about, it's a fictional version of Nick Cage, who is like hired by some super rich, like Mexican drug lord to perform at his kid's party or something like that. That's the premise of the movie. He's Nick Cage. He's like a cartoon version of Nick Cage, which I can only imagine what that looks like. And he's hired to go perform and be fake Nick Cage at this party, apparently. So I think he was probably just, if he was actually, that was actually Nick Cage in that steakhouse, he was probably just in character. I have to imagine he wasn't just.
He's a method actor.
He is. He really gets involved. So.
Now, do you think he took this part because he's passionate about the script?
I'd say so.
Or the headlines are saying that he's broke.
I mean, the headlines have been saying that for years. But if you do remember from months and months back, we did talk a little bit about how he came out talking about several times how he takes on roles because he just loves working. And I think he specifically mentioned, despite everyone saying he's taking on these roles just because he needs the money, he just likes working, he said. Yeah. And he also said he's never going to retire. So, which I'm excited about. But that's the Cage fact.
That's great.
Yeah. So we'll just roll right into the old junction there, spin the logo up. I want to talk about a lot of shit, but we have to kind of cage the conversation a little bit.
Sure.
I do want to, I guess, for the people who don't remember or don't know, the fame and legend that is Sorry Terrence, how that all started.
Yeah, I mean, so I've got a 2.5-year-old, and when the whole LPDS first started, thought it was a great opportunity to expose him to some different media, some different different bedtime stories.
Sure.
And
if you treat them like an adult, they're eventually going to learn how to be an adult. If you treat them like a kid.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And we found out pretty quickly in the first or second episode that this probably wasn't appropriate for 2-year-old bedtime literature. So just kind of tried to gloss over some of the colorful language that you sometimes employ here. But I think I would shoot you a text message or give you a call every time I heard something that wasn't really kosher for a 2-year-old.
It was a few times. It was one of those where it was like, the message was not from Terrence, my friend. It was from it was like a concerned Yelp review. Like, hey, be mindful of your audience.
Yeah, and it's bigger than me. It's bigger than my family and I. I want to see this whole thing flourish just as much as anyone. And you're just not going to get there without, being kid friendly. So, I'm trying to do my part here to help you along.
I'll make sure I change all the settings on YouTube to kid friendly.
But after 3 or 4 times of pinging you on that, you just kind of started to brush it off and say, sorry, Terrence. And that's where
it led.
Kind
of. I wanted to let you know, as I try to do, is I always try to take in feedback, and it's tough to actually prove to people that I'm actually receiving that. So, the first couple of times I saw that, I was like, well, I'm sorry about that, Terrence. Yeah. I know the big guys listening as well.
Yeah. We got some feedback.
It's a work in progress.
We got some feedback from daycare with him dropping swear words.
Dropping F-bombs and jabroni, calling kids beta bitch boys. Look, if that's his first words,
he could do a lot worse.
I mean, I'm sure your wife wouldn't be happy, but
she's a fan too. We all try to sit down and listen all together every now and then. So
by the fire.
Yeah.
A
little fireside chat from LPDS.
Oh, that is a big mistake on your part, buddy. But that's the origin, and it's snowballed because I'll get text messages from fans and people who listen on a regular basis, and they'll just, when are you getting Terrence on? Tell me this. Who's the Terrence? Why is this kid listening? Like all this stuff, everything. You're not hated though.
This is going to be disappointing for everyone. This is a lot of buildup to just a boring has-been father.
Just a guy trying to take care of his family.
Just trying to keep the language on track.
On track.
That's all.
Sorry, guys. Family show. But that's that.
It's good to be behind the mic again. I mean, we didn't even have mics when we were doing locker room.
No, so great. I'm glad you brought that up too.
Sitting on a bookshelf. So
yeah, it was like a digital camera that also took video. It wasn't even meant for that.
Yep.
And you had the wild idea at the time. Again, it was ahead of its time by years. Of hey, let's watch some movies with this recording, and we'll just continue to review these movies while we also drink.
It was inspired by a few things, but primarily Mystery Science Theater on the Sci-Fi Network. That was that old show where the three, shadow heads would just watch clips of old movies and just bash them and just rip on them. And, we thought, why not watch movies that we actually want to talk about and still
that people know about, and also rip on them. And you still have the footage. We never put it out. I think you watched it. I still have not seen the whole thing because we were getting pretty banged up by the end of we watched like 3 or 4 movies that night.
Yeah. And the way that we filmed it was just straight shot, just a single clip.
Yeah, so 6 hours or something of footage.
Yeah, just a massive file to try to edit on a computer. Once it crashed once, I just kind of gave up. And that was the end of locker room talk.
That's right.
But the commentary was good. And it was just, we had a lot to say. I actually found the notes that we took on.
Oh, really?
On Over the Top.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I wrote.
I was cleaning some stuff up and I found this piece of paper and I was like, that's not my handwriting. And then I started to read through it.
Like, oh.
And it was about little kid being in the army. And,
that's
and
right.
Giving Sylvester Stallone a hard time about eating steak at the diner.
Yeah.
Like, don't eat red meat, and a lot of good nuggets in
Damn
there.
it. I can't believe it. Yeah. That was the first. And it was probably like one of the subconscious like drivers to me doing this thing. Because it wasn't too much longer after.
Yeah.
A couple years after. I finally pulled the trigger on this show.
Yeah, we did Over the Top. We did Sudden Death, which you had never seen before.
No, that was first time. So that's
Jean-Claude Van Damme
reaction. Yeah,
Pittsburgh Penguins game.
I was gonna say that's the hockey one, right?
Yeah, great story.
Timeless.
great family fun. And then we did Executive Decision.
Yeah.
Now I want to get your take on that film. Being an Air Force guy. Where does Executive Decision stand in the pantheon of aviation films?
As far as like people being all like time. Liking it?
All time overall.
It's not up there. It's not talked about. In fact, that might have been the first time I've seen it all the way through as well.
Let me make it easier for you. Where does Executive Decision stand in all-time aviation achievements in general?
Film or otherwise.
Chuck Yeager, Charles Lindbergh,
Jeff Bezos.
Executive Decision.
I mean, if people haven't seen it,
we know it's Halle Berry's best movie.
Probably one of her best, if not best. Yeah.
Steven Seagal's in it for 5 minutes.
Probably his best movie too.
So he knew it was going to be a strong enough film where with his ego, he knew he wasn't going to be the star of it.
So he bowed out quickly.
What other film does he do that in?
None.
He doesn't do that.
And that was a thing too about it, was like he was out so quickly in the movie. I thought it was a trick, like, oh, he'll be back. Because most of the time they die and they come back as a bad guy or something. So that's what I was banking on, and it wasn't the case. Yeah. It wasn't about him. It was bigger than him. His executive decision.
Yeah.
That was a tough one.
Yep.
And I think that same night after we recorded, we watched The Burbs.
Yeah.
The Tom Hanks classic.
Right. Yeah. Not sort of off brand for Locker Room Talk. You know, the films that we kind of targeted.
Yeah, we were targeting like 80s
macho action.
Realistic action, yeah.
Realistic. Very, very realistic. With sudden death over the top.
Yeah. I mean, Nikki Sticks will know all those movies for sure. A lot of people will know those movies for sure, but for the people who don't, like, if you got to go watch these. We'll try to get that footage onto a computer. Yeah. We could probably get it done now because it's been a couple years. I think I got a better machine now, but we'll sift through it over time and
we had others put it out too. There. We had lined up Above the Law, Hard to Kill.
Yeah. A lot of others. Yeah. I don't remember exactly all the stuff we ended up getting on that on that one night, but it was a good time.
Yep.
And it sparked this pretty much one of the big fuelers, if you will.
Yep.
And again, I thought it was a great idea. We both got busy with work. Then the family happened, not for me, but for you. And it just, maybe we'll go back to it. We'll try it again. I don't know. Maybe not.
They won't go back.
Yeah. We'll never do it again. But that also sort of sparked kind of what we want to talk about today is Die Hard. So I know you listened to our Hans Gruber debate, like the Gruber brothers, how you doing between myself and my brother from last year.
Die Hard has come up frequently. Throughout multiple episodes. I think that was episode 6, talking about the Gruber brothers.
Right. So is Gruber focused?
It also came up during one of your holiday episodes, talking about Christmas movies.
Yeah, it was one of the movies that people voted on as a Christmas movie.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit later too.
Sure. I know you got extensive notes, which I love when people come prepared and I'm not driving the conversation because I'm not good at that, clearly.
Yeah, I've got a lot to say. Just trying to put it down on tape.
That's right. I don't know if anyone will get that one.
So do you remember the first time you watched Die Hard? You're probably too young.
I was young. And it was not it wasn't like beginning to end. I just remember probably just the action portion of it.
Yeah.
It was in the 90s.
Especially when it's always played on TV. It's probably the first time you saw it. It's like versus sitting down and popping in Die Hard.
I think actually the first time I saw it, the first time I remember seeing it, it was on HBO because I remember it specifically. It was uncensored. Mm-hmm. And then they always play the replays on like TNT or WPIX, and that's where they have the censored dub overs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think
which are phenomenal for John McClane.
Oh yeah, and then I remember those specifically because I think my grandfather, as he always did, recorded it on VHS for us with commercials and all.
Yeah.
And all the sensory that was in there was incredible. It didn't ruin the movie. It made it like a different kind of movie almost because it was so not even close to what they were actually saying.
And taping off of TV is kind of a nostalgic thing.
Yeah, it's a lost skill, if you will.
You have the movies you grew up with that you would watch off of those taped VHS tapes.
Yeah.
And that was your only exposure to that film for a long time.
Terminator 2.
Taped Big off of TV.
Ooh.
And
with commercials?
with everything. Yeah. With Pizza Hut commercials, all that. And up until about 5 years ago, I thought that the movie started with him working at Macmillan Toys. I had no idea there was a whole him as a kid before the whole Zoltar thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what was going on.
Is that because that's where the recording started?
That's where the recording started. I was him sitting at the desk at Macmillan Toys.
There's I'm trying to remember. I think it might have been Terminator 2 that my grandfather recorded, where the first 10 minutes of the video was the last 10 minutes of Death Wish. It was one of those movies. It was Death Wish, and then that ended, and then right into Terminator or whatever it was, Indiana Jones, something like that.
Yeah, we had, that 3/4 of Big, and then it kept recording beyond that, and they played like back-to-back Cheers episodes after.
Ooh, that's good too.
So caught those.
Yeah,
which is always good.
Yeah. Oh man, that's good too. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cheers, but I remember distinctly like all the dub overs in Die Hard, because they actually have videos out there where they show like the best shitty dub overs from movies, and Die Hard's always in there with like Mr. Falcon.
Yeah.
And which is nobody in any of the Die Hard movies is named Falcon.
No.
But they can't say motherfucker.
Nope.
So they got to say Mr. Falcon.
Let alone the tone of the voice not being close to Bruce Willis.
It's a guy trying to be Bruce Willis, which is great. Like you would think like, hey, especially back then when they knew everything had to be on family television at the time, it couldn't just stream or whatever.
Yep.
Just, hey, while we have you here, say this, do this cut or whatever. Just give us the audio only.
I want to say in Die Hard 2, they may be the worst. I know that there's some bad ones in the first Die Hard, but I feel like there are frequent dub overs with the whole airport and Dulles and being out on the runway.
Well, what's his name? Sipowicz. What's his real name? Dennis Franz.
Mm-hmm.
He's an angry guy.
Yeah.
And they let him go in the real movie, so they had to dub a lot of shit over for him. So it was out of control, and it was so bad that it made it enjoyable to watch that too. So even as a kid, it
becomes its own little novelty.
Yeah, and there's a couple movies that are like that. One of them, Big Lebowski. I don't know if you've seen that, the dubbed over version of that.
Yep.
That's a good one. But where do your notes start for this movie? Because I have a couple of just hot topics that I'm sure you're going to cover.
So mine kind of go chronologically.
Yeah,
the film.
Mine are more just like character based that are going to spark some stories.
So, basic synopsis: you have John McClane, New York City cop, flying. I mean, the movie opens with him on the plane.
Yeah,
flying out to L.A.
with that weird guy next to him,
the businessman.
Yeah,
you don't like flying, huh?
And I forgot about his suggestion to McClane.
So I did not remember that about scrunching up the toes.
Yeah, where he makes fists with the toes.
Right.
And I watched this a couple nights ago, and I immediately gagged because that's my thing. And I was like, man, I don't remember this part of the movie, and I'm pissed that I should have just fast forwarded through it, because that was his thing. He's like, take your shoes and socks off and make fists with your toes on the carpet.
Yeah.
That's disgusting in itself.
On the gross hotel carpet.
Then you're in a hotel. Like that's the most disgusting carpet you can do next to an airport. I was, and then he tried it.
Well, I mean, what was that?
I think it was Ellis's bathroom. Was
it Ellis's or Holland's? Okay.
Yeah, it was because she was talking about how she's eyeing his office with the private bathroom.
See, this reads to me as the writers knew that they wanted later in the movie to have him be barefoot to deal with the glass, and they didn't know how to get him there. Short of Home Alone, tar on the steps, right?
Which would have also been a great addition. So they really racked their brain for how do we make him take his shoes off?
Right. Well, he doesn't like flying. Big macho John McClane. I mean, they made him vulnerable in the first 30 seconds.
Right. They made him realistic. Right. That's how they catch you. Like this is a guy you can relate to.
Right.
And I mean, it worked, I guess.
So he lands. He gives the flight attendant kind of a look walking off the plane.
Yeah.
Did you catch that?
Oh, yeah. And it made me think. She gave the look back, though. What's
I caught it as clear the aisle. So there's also the exiting the plane etiquette that he just totally botched.
Yeah, he doesn't have much etiquette at all.
Grabbed the overhead bag and
well, he doesn't have much etiquette in the party too. I'll talk about that in a sec.
So is this going to get into the John McClane is really the villain Nick conversation?
No, this is not. We're not putting on the diehard tinfoil hats like Nikki Sticks tried to do last year. Yeah. But no, he gave that look. She gave like a flirty, I'm into it look kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I am no expert in getting that look, but that's what it looked like to me. So he does that. It reminded me, do you remember in Die Hard 2 when he was trying to get the fax from the airport? Airport. Right, I mean, the flight services women are all over McClane. Right.
And he does the voiceless mouthing thank you.
Yeah.
Where he's
on the phone. Yeah, and she loved that.
Yeah.
And then she wanted to take him out to a drink, which we know what that means.
And that's when he did this.
Yeah, he stayed strong.
He loves doing this.
Yeah. But he hates his wife.
Hates being married, loves the ring.
Yeah, he loves doing that. He also loves giving shit to his wife whenever possible when she's trying to be nice to him.
Yep.
So yeah, he does that. He gives that look. No etiquette.
Exits the plane, gets into the airport, finds his ride. And this is where we get introduced to Argyle.
Yeah, which is a good character.
Over under 10 years old for that actor.
I don't know. Oh, it's the 80s, so anything played back then. He probably had one of those handwritten birth certificates that said I'm 18. I could be a part in this. But
the Danny Almonte.
Right, that's right. Yeah. I'm 12. But it looks like they glued a mustache on him because it was all sweaty, like his facial hair that he had.
This is hardly see over the steering wheel.
Yeah, he was.
So
he must have been a director's son or something.
So he wanted to chit chat. Okay, he's a social guy.
Yeah,
I think that line of business, it's hit or miss.
He said he used to be a cabbie where people wanted to talk.
So they tried to explain that. Here's what got me with that whole scene when they're driving to the Nakatomi building. John McClane's sitting in the front seat.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that with a limousine?
No. I'll say this though, because there are a number of times throughout the movie where they look like there are plot holes. That's one of them. When they pull up to Nakatomi building, there's not a car out there, not a person walking around.
Yep.
And immediately I thought, like, this is not realistic. And as soon as they walk in, what does the security guard say to them?
Okay.
They're talks about the party.
All right. So McClane walks in and he asks for Holly McClane.
Right.
Or he's asking, the security guard's like, can I help you?
Yeah. He's like, I'm here to see Holly McClane. And he goes,
yeah. So then he kind of brushes him off and says, just punch it in there.
Right.
McClane starts searching for the name. And that's when he says, cute toy, technology, like, I need this. I can taste the dirt.
Yeah.
Know which way they went.
Yeah. I can smell them getting off the elevator.
So he punches it in, eventually finds her under Gennaro. That bothers him.
Yeah. That sparked. And
immediately he's in a bad mood.
Yeah. And it's stuck with him.
It's stuck with him through the whole movie. He was killing people the whole movie.
Based off of that alone.
Right, because of that. It got him off on the wrong foot for the holiday party.
Bad luck for Hans Gruber.
Right. And they punch it in. He finds it. And the security guard goes, oh, yeah, they're at the party on the 30th floor. They're the only ones left in the building.
Yeah.
Well, then what did you make me search for her name for?
What an asshole. Yeah. What? He knew. He wanted nothing.
Yeah, go ahead and punch it in.
Yeah.
The building's empty except for the 30th floor.
Well, I'm going to make you work for it. Yeah, I'm going to make you work for it. But real quick, going back to the limo, he sat in the front. It was weird, but they made the mention to kind of close the loop on that, where he said, I've never been in a limo before.
Yeah.
And then what's his name made mention of, like, he had all the garbage. Argyle had his trash, and he's like, he didn't think you were going to sit in the front.
Right.
Because that's his first time. He didn't know how to react to a limo.
Well, later on when Takagi is talking to him and he says, I trust your ride was enjoyable. And McClane says, do I have you to thank for that? I'm like, well, you shouldn't really be thanking anyone since you sat in the front seat.
You didn't
use it properly.
You didn't which is like, what kind of detective are you? You don't want to use a limo? Like,
why did I send the limo for you? You sat in the front seat.
You should have said the cab. Argyle would have been driving that too. But he was a little he was on guard during when he walked into the party. because he was trying to be nice, but it was still coming off as like short. Like Takagi doesn't know your history with your wife.
He just got off a long flight, so I understand he's probably tired. Doesn't really want to be there.
Yeah,
a bunch of drunk people.
Right, and then the Gennaro.
And then as he's walking through, now I missed whether he grabbed the wrong glass or somebody offered him champagne, the caterer, and handed him something that was red.
It's like a vodka cranberry or something looking drink.
So I don't know if they handed him the wrong drink or he just took the wrong thing off the tray.
Right. During filming, you mean, or as part of the story?
As part of the story. I don't know who was at fault there because he takes a sip and makes a face.
And he makes the guy take it.
Then you get the random drunk guy comes up and says, "Merry Christmas," kisses him on the face.
Yeah.
And he shows him away and goes, "California." So that's 2 strikes. He's already.
He talks about he mentions California too in the airport when he lands.
Right.
And that chick, by the way, that chick's wearing yoga pants decades ahead of their time. Wild stuff.
Yep.
And she jumps on that beef chivi or whatever he was. And that's what he says something like LA or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. So he's got all these little things like
he's taking them off. He's planting the seeds, like even if there wasn't some awful terrorist attack at this party, that he wasn't going to enjoy California. No. And he was always going to be ready for a scrap, if you will, of any kind. Right. And the Gennaro thing, like I'm trying to empathize with the character. He wants, like, it's his first time in 6 months he's seen his wife. They're obviously having issues. He wants to have a one-on-one time with her, but he's got to go to this party with strangers. And they're all California strangers. So yeah, that stereotype, like, especially back then of like New York versus like LA, it's strong, especially back then. And you can ask my grandfather if he was still with us today. He taught us at a young age that California is no place that you want to go to. Right. Different planet. Yeah. So that was immediately right off the bat that was in there. And then when he walks in, I mean, I guess he tried to be nice to Takagi, but he still came off a little respectful. I mean, Takagi was respectful back to him. I mean, he's a nice guy, even though somebody thinks he was the secret bad guy of the whole movie. Nick. Unbelievable. Nick, the company, I mean, you can look at their books. Everything's on the up. Above board. Right. Everything is all above board. Yeah. There's no secret agenda there from Takags. He was maybe stressed out from the construction going on in the building. It's a beautiful space you have here. Well, it will be if we ever get it finished. Yeah. You had a lot going on. Right. And that kind of speaks to him as like always striving. Like he's not just going to accept, settle for what he's got. He's always going to strive for better. He was trying to be a good boss. He didn't have a sense of humor. Yeah. Well, he's not from that area. Holly comes over and Takagi says, I mean, what does John say? Like, I hope she's doing a good job for you. And he says something like, oh, like, we're working on her too hard. Like we're jabbing her with spears. Yeah. I'm kidding. Yeah. It was like, it just felt fun. He had to like explain his own jokes and stuff. Yeah. Which is, he was trying. That's what, I don't know if you ever talk to a real CEO, I mean, that's pretty spot on, especially like the guys that are coming from different cultures too. They're in a different existence. Plus they're coming from a different culture. They don't know how to talk to like lowly heathens like us. So I get it. But then we get introduced to another character, to one of the top tier shitheads of all time. Sorry, Terrence. Sorry, T. When you listen to this next week, put the kid away. But Ellis, no last name, Ellis. Is that his first name or last name? It just, even in the credits, because I made a note of that at the end to go back and find out what his full name was, and it just said Ellis. I never checked like IMDb or anything though. Yeah. He's in Holly's office. He has his own office with a private bathroom because he's like essentially like their top guy that Holly's gunning for his role. He's their head of international accounts. Right. And if you didn't know that, he was going to tell you. Yeah. And he's in Holly's office just skiing, hitting the slopes hard. Does that mean Holly has a drug problem? They don't ask that question. Maybe she's the bad guy. She just lets her husband walk into the trenches like that after all. But he's sitting there
just snoring a fat line of coke. And I believe in the business they call it cheese these days.
So Takagi, Holly, and McLean all walk in.
Holly was not there.
Oh, that's right. Holly was still in her office finishing up.
She was in
faxing some papers.
Yeah, she was in somebody else's office.
Working during the party.
Yeah. Nose to the grindstone, I guess. I don't know. That's a McLean move, though.
Yeah.
So, plus she's gunning for Ellis's, spot. So she's just trying to be better. She knows he's not in any position to work.
She's so career driven.
Yeah,
she didn't want to be there. She didn't want to be at the party. She's calling home, check on their housekeeper.
Checking her kids and the keeper.
Yeah.
We'll talk about her after with that sleazeball reporter. But Ellis is nose deep in cheese. And I love the line the excuse and how and like the action he does, because they walk in and it's the standard, like every 80s movies has this scene where they walk into an office. There's like the door opens loudly to give them a chance to react. And then there's the guy doing coke in the back, wiping it off the desk and just getting his nose. I'm like, and then Ellis goes, I was making a phone call and he just points to the phone, which he's not even within arm's length of. He's not even close to. It's like on another table. He's just, I was just making a call. Everybody knew what was going on. Yeah. Even Takagi made mention of it.
Yeah.
And that set the stage for this guy. Like besides the conversation he had beforehand with Holly about, he was just trying to sleaze on her essentially.
Yeah.
She wasn't having anything.
Let me take you to dinner and all that.
Yeah, something like that to celebrate. Like that's standard dirtbag move of like, it's not because I want to do sex to you. It's because I just want to take you to dinner. It's professional and respectful.
Right.
I see right through it, Ellis.
And Takagi introduces Ellis and McLean. And he says, this is Holly's husband, Holly's police officer or something.
Yeah, he's a police husband.
And McLean walks past him like he already owns the place.
Ellis tries to shake his hand and be buddy. You know how those sleazy salesmen are? And he wants nothing to do with it, McLean. He just walks right past. And
he says, miss some. And Ellis has to wipe his nose.
He's got that little shit-eating grin on him, McLean does, where he's like, I'm not an idiot. Like, I'm a good cop. Anybody. Yeah. And then Holly walks in. They do some back and forth. And he's like, they're really setting up Ellis as like a real dirtbag because everything he says that comes out of his mouth is just.
And he's laughing too much at everything.
Yeah, he's everything Takagi said he loves. He's just a standard kiss ass that you just hate in real life.
Yeah.
And he plays a good part.
Yeah,
the guy.
Oh, it's Dennis Miller.
Dennis Miller's understudy.
Right. That isn't Dennis Miller.
What? But then Holly walks in. She gets all like.
Yeah, they get all flustered.
She gets the vapors because she's surprised to see him, I guess.
So you know that John and Holly are in love.
Yeah.
They are married.
Yep.
Although it's a little fuzzy. Are they married? Because Argyle started to dig at that in the car ride, and you didn't really get a definitive answer.
No. But that's also like, if you want to go realistic terms here, the detective is not just going to be open to telling personal things to a complete stranger. We don't know Argyle's backstory.
Probably a good idea to not sit in the front seat then.
Yeah, well, that is a plot hole unexplained. Is we know why he sat in the front seat, but we don't know why he didn't know how to use a limo.
Just sit in the back seat.
And also,
has he never been in an automobile?
Right. And you have the vantage point too, from a defense security perspective.
Now you're talking like Dwight Schrute.
He's got weaponry, and if Argyle starts to do any funny business, he can pop him right there.
And then commandeer the vehicle.
That's right. But he decided to sit. Now Argyle's in his peripherals and not.
There's always Die Hard 6.
It's probably coming out any day now. Actually,
Argyle's back.
He's like 62, or maybe not.
Yeah, he's 30.
Yeah, whatever.
And he looks the exact same.
Yeah. Maybe they just put gray, like touch of men or touch of gray in there. But that's when, she takes him to Ellis's office.
Yep.
Holly takes McLean to Ellis's office, and this is where they're talking. They're being nice. Like,
right.
It's that weird, like,
he's got to wash up in the bathroom.
Yeah, it's that weird, awkward, like post-fight when you have in a relationship.
They're having the same old conversation. You came out here to follow the career, left me back in New York. You took the kids.
Well, that was before that. What sparked it was when she was like, "Oh, you can stay at this place, whatever. She was being nice and it looked like it was getting good. And she's like, she said, I missed you. And then he goes, instead of just being like, I miss you too, he goes, you didn't miss my name. Like he had to be that dickhead. Like he was just so, it was stewing. And that was his opening. And he's just like, you didn't miss my name. And and that's when they back and forth again.
And then Holly's assistant pokes her head in.
Yeah.
And says, Miss Gennaro, they want you to say some words to the troops.
Right.
And McLean just looks at her and she goes, sorry. And he goes, does a little fake smile.
That like shit smile. Like
just no respect.
Yeah,
no respect for anybody.
Because he's so in the fog of anger, like he doesn't care about nothing.
Yep.
Nothing about any. It was just great. And then he de-shoes. That's when he
de-shoes to do the carpet trick.
Yeah.
Holly leaves to go talk to the troops. As McLean is standing there, the terrorists arrive to the Nakatomi property.
Yep.
The one truck goes down into the parking garage. The sedan drives out front.
Up front in the empty front, which now it made still more sense why it was empty because they talked through it.
And out of the vehicle is Hans, Carl, the big blonde-haired terrorist.
Yep.
And Theo.
From
Walker, Texas.
I would say Trebet from Walker, Texas Ranger.
Right,
right. He played for the Cowboys and then he became a Texas Ranger.
Yeah. Yep. And they're talking about something. They shoot the security guard.
Yeah, they made up the football.
Right.
Whatever.
So Hans is being all sketchy, looking around, making sure nobody saw anything. They reconvene with some additional terrorists coming up from the parking garage.
Yep. They take out the other guards.
Right.
Flashbang or a smoke bomb and then a quick how you doing to the chest.
So now all the terrorists are in the elevator.
Yeah.
And they're on their way up to the 30th floor. The elevator doors open. And there's a very distinct way that terrorists behave in movies like this. Not the lead actor terrorists, but all the like 6, 7, 8, 9.
The henchmen, the posse.
Right. They act angry and intense. It's most of the time it's overacting on their part. They're not meant to just be background bodies. I mean, they want some of the attention too.
Yeah, they see the camera. They want.
You can see the way that the first two guys get off of the elevator. One of them is holding his machine gun like this.
Yeah.
And as he comes around the corner of the elevator, his face is just...
He knows where the camera is exactly.
And it is a full-on character. It doesn't say a single word the entire movie. It may be the guy who...
He's really chewing up the steam.
Who later is on top of the table and he goes,
where
are you going to go, pal? No more table.
It could have been that guy.
Could have been that guy. So... they get off and start just shooting into the air. And that's where it cuts to McLean hearing it.
That's actually a realistic the gun, holding the gun up like that doesn't make sense. I don't know why you would do that. If you're trying to be ready, like you're barreled down range, if you will.
Right.
But what's realistic is like going out intensely, creating the chaos and because that's what you want to do. Because when people are stressed, you see it every day. We talked about it during at that fake shootout at the Nationals game that I was at. When there's chaos, the majority of the time and the majority of the people are going to devolve into stupidity, and they're just going to. That's what they want. Because if you can't control your shit, we win.
Well, and you see that exact behavior when the terrorists are firing into the air and everybody's scattering, and they're not only just shooting into the air. They are yelling and shaking their heads and acting like maniacs.
And overacting,
Right.
Incredible.
Right.
But do you notice, like, Holly, Takagi, like, they kind of maintain.
Right, yeah. They kept their heads.
Yeah.
Ellis cracked after a while, and we saw what happened to him.
I mean,
So the terrorists show up. McLean makes his break for the staircase.
Yeah, well, he finds
as they're clearing the floor and looking for people.
Yeah, they clear another like standard 80s action movie like hostage situation is you bust into a room and there's people at the holiday party doing sex in the office.
What kind of company is Takagi running?
Maybe he is a bad guy. But you see it. I mean, for whatever reason, holiday parties in the 80s and early 90s were exclusively in the office, which is a real no-go these days. You can't be getting away with that shit anymore. You want to have an off-site, plausible deniability on all accounts.
Right.
But this is no holds bar. And that lady, God bless her, she was out and about for Christmas.
So they round up all the hostages, and McClane is already, he ran up one flight of stairs, saw the guys rolling the car, missiles and everything.
Yeah.
And keeps going. And he's sort of safe for a few minutes, and they cut to Hans, and they've rounded up all the hostages in that open area. And you can tell immediately who the leader is because he's the only one wearing a suit.
Right. Everyone else they need to be
why did Hans wear a suit the entire movie?
I don't know. They never mention that.
Because he's not trying to disguise
here's why. Or anything.
Maybe it was his failsafe if he ever got in the situation like when he had to become Bill Clay.
Yeah.
He had to look like somebody who worked there.
They also talked about, remember at the end where he said they can't like arrest us if they think we're already dead. And we'll get into that. Like,
oh, so you think he had to?
But it could have been it's not a direct correlation, but it could have been one of the reasons why he wore a suit is like in case they nab him in the group of hostages or whatever.
But they were going to kill all the hostages.
Yeah, so I don't know. You're right. There was a plot hole.
He stands there and he pulls out a little book, some sort of little day planner.
Yeah. Which
just to remind
him
what to say, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he closes it as he starts talking.
Yeah, he says one thing and then he closes it.
Right.
And then after he opens it again to like go back to refer back to his notes. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what was in that book.
So Hans starts speaking. And you understand pretty quickly, one, he's the leader. Two, they're pretty organized and professional. And he immediately keys in on finding Joseph Takagi.
Right. What
and he keys in on him by reciting his entire bio. He says, University of London, School of Economics, University of Chicago, MBA. And like he goes on and on.
Then he gets
into
the personal life.
Gets into the personal life. How many sons he has, all this. Shoe size, allergic to peanuts, everything.
Yeah.
And
he does
talk about a plot hole. He knows all that information and doesn't know what he looks like.
So I thought the same thing because at first he walks up to the other guy, like the decoy Takagi. And I thought for a second, like, man, he's just incredibly stereotypical. He's just assuming this Asian guy is Takagi. But another tactic, like he could have known and purposely was trying to make him sweat it out, like make him come forward as well. Because that's the first thing I thought of is like, you're not looking up a dude's life like that and not getting a picture.
Don't see a picture of him.
Because wherever you're getting that information from, they definitely have the public information of the building that he owns and the business that he owns. And there's always like the bio picture.
Right.
So I think he knew. I think that was a tactic he was using.
So they find Takagi. Takagi starts to feel the pressure of Hans, focusing on other staff.
Right.
And you hear him speak.
That's how you get the weakness. You go out to the people you care about.
He says enough. And what does Hans say? How nice to meet you. Something like that.
Pleasure to make your acquaintance or something like that.
So they go up to the next floor.
Like, we know you. That's not a pleasure.
Right. You're a terrorist.
Yeah.
They go up to the next floor. They're in the elevator. He makes a comment about Takagi's suit. John Phillips. London.
Yeah.
I have three myself. And they get up, and that's where they try to get the code out of him to open up the vault door.
Which is why they went after him in the first place, because he's the guy with the code. Figure if we don't have to break the vault,
save time.
Yeah, that's always plan A. They did make mention though. I don't know. I guess back in the 80s, like when he said, word on the street says Arafat goes to him as well for his suits.
Yeah, right. He says that quickly, getting off the elevator.
Right. Like as a throwaway, like you have good taste.
Yeah.
I also have good taste because all big power type guys are going to John Phillips. So I don't know what if it was to build rapport or as a power move to let them know, like, I'm also not fucking around.
Like, you're worthy of stealing from.
Right. Like, yeah, if I
know you've got a lot.
Yeah, I know that suit, which means you're not, you got exactly what I'm keen to grab. So I don't know. But Arafat at the time was a big timer. So
they go and there's a lovely model of the whole plaza.
Yeah. Looks pretty good to scale.
And they sit him down and he won't give up the code and he starts sweating and kind of a graphic scene there.
Pop him.
And that's where McClane witnesses that and screams from the next room, kind of yells. And that's when he escapes narrowly out of that room.
Right.
Because Carl and the other guy run in and try to see him.
Yeah. Carl and his brother?
Yeah. His brother was the first guy to die.
Yeah. And that's when he went up to the floor. He was wearing some weird sweatsuit.
Yeah, it was like an old gray.
It's got to be a German thing because the sweatshirt I noticed was long, like over the ass, like down below the ass long, like a girl would wear it as a nightshirt, like a dress. And then he had super tight pants on,
right,
and like tiny little children's shoes. He was a strange little man.
So what was his name?
I don't know. Franz?
It may have been Franz.
Are you looking it up?
I'm trying to find Franz. Well, in any case, that was Carl's brother.
Yeah.
And the guy was a big guy. Like because McClane tussles with him, and that's when they fall down the staircase and McClane breaks his neck.
Right.
And he screams while he breaks his neck. The guy goes, ah!
Yeah, which realistically, you're not able to do.
I didn't think so. I've never broken my neck.
Yeah. If I were a betting man.
So the guy's a big guy. McClane takes his shoes off, and they're not even close.
No.
What is that about?
I don't know.
He had nub feet?
I'm curious in real life if that's the case for that guy, or if they just made it look like he just had to wear it for that scene because they knew they wanted to keep McClane barefoot.
Right. They needed an out.
Yeah. That needed to be a continued weakness that somebody tried to exploit throughout the whole movie. Because there's other things related to Barefoot and McClane, a lot of separate things throughout the film, the rest of the film. And that bothered me, obviously, because again, how many guys did he kill that he had the opportunity to grab their shoes? He only attempted one guy, and they just happened to be the smallest shoes of the whole posse. And then he's just like, that's it. I guess I'm not wearing shoes the entire rest of this film.
And that's where McClane says, 100 million terrorists in the world, and I got to kill one with feet smaller than my sister.
Yeah. And then he takes his guns and stuff, though. But I think this is around the time where Carl Winslow finally gets introduced. And
he's at the convenience store.
Yeah, I kind of feel bad.
Loading
up on Twinkies. Like,
he kept reaching back at the same shelf. And I can understand if they want him to load up on a variety of different products, but he took like 7.
He had a double hand. He had to hold it of all the Twinkies he was taking, and he had to dump them onto the table. Like,
and then he seems surprised that the cashier said something.
Yeah, like, shit talk.
Thought you guys just ate donuts.
Yeah, and he was pissed. He's like,
they're for my wife.
Yeah,
right.
She's pregnant.
Yeah, that guy was underrated.
Yeah, he was,
because it was the perfect touch of sarcasm.
Right.
Yeah,
and
with the toothpick out of his mouth.
And of course, and because it's coming from like a 7-Eleven cashier, It's like, this guy should not be talking, but he has no problem letting that copper know I know you're a fat.
Oh, that's where Carl Winslow says, "Bag it." Just biggest slap in the face. Yeah. You can say to somebody in the either at a grocery store or 7-Eleven.
Yeah, like keep the change or something. Yeah, just like that's to let him know, like, I know you're just a cashier. Like, bag my shit, bag boy.
It's the equivalent of McDonald's drive-thru saying, make sure those fries are hot.
Yeah. Give me a sweet and sour.
It's on par with the Good Will Hunting. Like you're gonna be serving my kids fries when we're on our way to a skiing trip.
My quick story. My mother and my friend's mother, who I played baseball and soccer with when we were kids, used to have this. They called it a joke. It was more like a verbal abuse as a child, but they would always do this to us where, especially if we like sucked it up in sports that day, they would say something like, "Would you like fries with that?" And I'll be like, "What?" Or cash or charge.
Yeah.
And like, what are you talking about? And they would go, these are just phrases you might want to remember because you're not going to make it in this world if you keep acting like that or keep playing like that. So you're just going to be bagging groceries and this and that. I was like, holy shit. They just ripped me like my own parents.
So you get the brief shot of Sergeant Al Powell, Carl Winslow.
Which for a while I couldn't tell
if it was Hal or Al.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if it was Pal.
Or Pal.
Yeah. They picked a bad name for Al Pal.
Maybe some of those were overdubbed too.
They could have
they called them Pal. They didn't even get their characters straight.
Well, maybe, welcome to the party, Powell.
Right. This is around the time you get your first shot of the reporter.
Yeah.
Thornburg.
He was in Biodome tau. I don't know if you ever saw that movie. Pauly Shore.
He was also yes, he was Biodome. Yep. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, he's always a bad guy, or just a problem character. He's good part. But yeah, that's when he first shows, and he's being right off the bat. He's also being just a shitbag, like a real Elvis type.
So he's also Walter Peck from Ghostbusters.
That's right. Well, another another sort of bad guy. He talks
the same way.
Yeah,
and they're probably not too far off. I think Ghostbusters was 84. Die Hard was 88. So that same area of his career.
He was in his in a groove there,
he had that character down.
And they knew it.
I don't care what it does, just shut these off. Even when he we could do Ghostbusters.
That's another good one. Yeah, too. But and then when he's talking to the housekeeper too,
right?
He pulls her in.
Well, and before he does that, he makes everybody back up. He goes, "All right, back up."
Yeah, because he doesn't want people to know.
He leans in.
Listen here.
Well, so you get your first shot of him at the news studio, and he's on the phone. And he's on the phone with either his wife or girlfriend, Monica. And he says, all you hear of the conversation is, Monica can get us a table. Yeah. Wolfgang and I are close friends.
Wolfgang. He called him Wolfgang. And as soon as he said that, I was like, this guy sucks. Because there's always that guy out there that that's how they let you know, I am on the in with Wolfgang Puck or whatever, Wolfgang, and oh my god, it was such a
Monica can get us a table.
But that same timing wise, Carl Winslow gets the initial call. Go to the fire alarm went off. Go to the building or whatever, and they're getting calls from.
Well, so first there was the fire alarm that got canceled by the front desk.
That's right. You're right.
And then McClane broadcasts from the roof. And that's where they find him up there and start shooting at him.
Yeah.
And that's where the dispatchers hear the gunfire and say, see if a black and white can do a drive-by.
Which, again, realistically speaking,
they hear gunshots.
They hear gunshots.
Somebody in distress.
If a guy finds his way on an emergency radio channel like that, and he's screaming about an emergency, you don't just brush it off like that and think it's a prank. It
doesn't seem to be protocol for a dispatcher
on
an emergency channel to have their default answer be, sir, this is an emergency line. Yeah. This is not for pranks.
Call 911. He's like, I'm trying to. You idiot. How do you think I knew it was an emergency line?
Yeah.
Then they heard the gunshots. They still kind of brushed it off, and they sent Carl Winslow on the case. And do you remember his call sign?
10 Lincoln 30.
I think it was 8 Lincoln.
8 Lincoln 30.
And I thought he was saying Abe Lincoln. I was like, what kind of fucking call sign is that, Carl?
You can be whoever you want to be as a police officer.
And he's like, I choose Abe Lincoln, one of my top men.
He shows up. I love the camera work of him walking out of the convenience store and glancing up in the distance.
At the building.
And you see flashes on the roof.
Yeah.
And that's meant to be the gunfire between McClane and the terrorists.
Right. But you can also, from that far away, it just looks like the standard lights they have for air traffic to be aware of.
Yep. And he drives over And at that point, McLean's at the window looking down at him. And he thinks that, okay, this is great. And Al Powell just keeps circling the front driveway.
Yeah, empty building.
So why wouldn't he just stop and look in? Because he's like, everything looks fine. But then he's got to drive back around the circle and turn his back to everything.
Yeah.
And look at hedges for 60 degrees.
That's like a movie cop thing to do, is like the drive-by, like always in motion for whatever reason.
McLean noticed.
Yeah.
Because he says, who's driving this car? Stevie Wonder?
Another great
And
line.
then eventually, I mean, Al Powell doesn't realize how close he came to death.
Yeah.
Because he chit-chats with the front guard.
Huey Lewis?
Who?
The guy, the guard, the bad guy guard?
Yeah.
Watching the football game?
Yeah.
It doesn't look just like Huey Lewis.
I didn't realize that till now.
Yeah. It's not him. I did some recon. It's not, but it's as close to him as Ellis is to Dennis Miller.
With the fake accent and they've been chasing bugs in this system ever since they put it in.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a good cover story, big dude.
Yeah.
He plays it off well, Huey.
Yeah.
And then Carl. I mean, I guess thank God for him, he's lazy.
Because he didn't make it all the way down the hallway and you just see he
made it like 4 steps and he's like, I got Twinkies waiting for me.
Yeah. Sorry to waste your time on the way out.
Yeah.
Starts driving away or gets in his car. And that's where the body goes through his windshield.
Right.
McLean.
Yeah. And that's another plot hole I wanted to discuss.
Very big plot hole.
Because
yes,
McLean's looking at the window. Then he's got the gunfight where he's killing the guys. He kills more guys. And then the body ends up on the car. Now, a couple of issues I have with that.
There's several. First,
when he's looking down at the car, he has to like hammer, like Olympic hammer swing that body to get that distance out there.
He would have to throw that at least 30 or 40 feet.
Yeah. Like horizontally outward.
Yes.
Not just down, because it was not directly under the building. He also didn't break the window.
There was a hole the size of a garbage can lid.
Yeah.
And it wasn't at the bottom of the window.
It was up at eye level.
He would have to hold the body at his waistline, get a running start, and throw it like an underhand javelin.
Like in the cartoons where they grab you by your back of your pants and just toss you like that.
So it was Uncle Phil throwing jazz out of the house.
That's exactly what it was. That's what he did. And he threaded the needle through this not even human-sized hole.
Right.
And got it out to the car.
And stands there and says, "Welcome to the party, pal."
Crazy. I mean,
at that point, he has to call him pal.
Yeah.
Because he has not made radio contact with him. He doesn't know his name is Al Powell.
No, it's definitely a pal. Yeah. And it wasn't Abe Lincoln.
And at that point, the terrorists see the body land on the car and know that
I think Huey sees it. Yeah, it's open now.
And then they just start opening firing from their vantage points.
Yeah, where they were like on another floor, below or above or whatever.
He throws it in reverse. Here's another plot hole. Argyle is supposedly in the parking garage, listening to music, just waiting for McLean. He doesn't know anything is off at this point.
Right.
They show him in the front seat talking on the phone with the sunglasses on, and in the through the back windshield, they show Powell's car go over the curb and disappear down the hill.
Yeah.
How could you see that if he's in a parking garage?
So I think
where is Argyle at that point? If he can see that.
Right. Well, what didn't make sense was I could see it logistically of the parking garage, how a basement has windows at the top. You can see out sometimes. So I could see that logistically if they built the parking garage like that. So, and I think they wanted to make you, the viewer, see Argyle's clueless. This thing has literally happened right behind him. But if you look at how the building was set up, where the parking garage was actually, and where he was driving his car, he wouldn't have had to go that route. Especially in duress, he wasn't purposely going to look, hey, let me get in front of this guy and see if he sees me. He was driving in a different route. And for the movie, I think they were just back it up over here, Carl.
Yeah.
But that didn't make sense either.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad he survived. But
so Carl lands eventually, he backs over that wall.
Yeah.
And his car gets stuck.
Which is another plot hole because like Reginald Vell Johnson at the time he's packing some weight. And they even like they sort of joke about it because all the Twinkies and he's lazy and all this other stuff. He gets out of that car way too easily. That car, like he is
at an angle.
He's at least
7 or 8 feet off the ground.
Yeah, at the top of it, he's way up there. And he just like slides right down, like no problem. He's not doing that. He's stuck in there for.
He wouldn't even be able to open up the door at that angle.
No, because it would have closed right down back on him. But the door stayed open. Like there must have been a guy holding the door on the other end.
He hops down.
He's athletically hops down.
The cavalry shows up. All these other cop cars
immediately.
He starts going like this. Why does he do that? He starts waving them away.
Like because they're gunfire, he doesn't want them to get shot up too. Maybe.
So where is he at that point?
He's far away.
And it seemed to be some sort of construction site.
Yeah.
There's nobody around.
It's probably where they were staging the construction for the rest of the building, like where they're putting all their gear.
It's vacant is the point. So the other cops show up and Dwayne Robinson shows up.
Yeah.
Who's that? Deputy chief? Something like that?
Of that particular department.
Right.
Yeah.
Some sort of supervisor to Powell and everyone else.
Yeah.
He shows up in an unmarked car with all these other marked police cars.
Right.
He gets out. There's nobody there except cops. He gets out holding his badge
to show Powell. Like
he shows up and goes, "All right, who's talking to him? Who are you holding that up to?" There's nobody there except a battered Carl Winslow and a bunch of cops that just pulled up.
An emotionally beat down Carl and other cops with badges on.
All right, who's talking to him?
It's me, Dwayne Johnson or Dwayne Robinson.
Right.
That's a good pull. I did not realize that.
Like people are going to ask who he is or stop him.
Yeah. And his whole character was like back then they just really poured it on with the over stereotypical,
a lot like Breakfast Club principal.
Yes. And what the hell else was he a principal in? Not Ferris Bueller. It was another one. Van Wilder with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, he was the dean.
The dean, yeah. Same kind of character. That cocky, like I'm in charge, therefore everything I say is correct and everything you say is wrong kind of attitude. Like pretends to be no nonsense.
Yeah.
But then when the bigwigs come and he's got to kiss ass, that's the character he was good at that.
Yeah.
God love him.
But I mean, so he starts off with, all right, who's talking to him? Holding up the badge unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Then he downplays the entire situation. Al Powell's car is riddled with bullet holes. He's bleeding from the head.
There's a body in the windshield still.
There are machine guns coming out of the office building.
Everywhere, yeah.
And he says something like, what about Powell's like, what about the body that landed on my car? He says, who knows? Probably a stockbroker. Got depressed.
It made no sense.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, what? And like, why would you think that? Why would you dismiss a cop, like a fellow cop, that easily? Like he's the psychopath. Like you're crazy.
He had. Most of his lines were phenomenal.
Right? Yeah, they were phenomenal. And so unrealistic.
After the C4 explosion from McClane, that somehow doesn't bring the entire building down.
Oh, the roof when they.
Right.
Yeah.
No. When McClane throws the computer chair.
Down the elevator, yeah, and it just
somehow doesn't take down the building, blows out the entire floor.
Right, it's like it's hitting in real life, it's hitting all the spots you would want to hit to knock a building down and nothing.
And Robinson says, "I got 100 people down here and they're covered in glass."
Yeah, and McClane lost it at that point. Yeah.
Glass.
He lost it. 100 people covered in. I mean, you piece of shit. Like he is such an asswipe. Oh man, I'm trying to think. What other lines did he have? I liked Carl's line when the feds show up.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh, the FBI," and he starts like getting tightening his tie, and Carl goes, "You want a breath mint?"
Yeah, right.
Like another 80s jam. Yeah, like another zinger.
Right. I mean, even when the FBI helicopter gets engulfed in the explosion on the roof and Agent Johnson and Special Agent Johnson perish with the helicopter.
Oh, that was another thing I wanted to talk about. These two first, Senior Agent Johnson is one of the Fratelli brothers.
Right.
Phenomenal actor, Robert Davi. He's great.
Mom, I'm starting to like this kid.
They roll in like, what does he say? Just like Saigon. Like he's PTSD and right back to his Vietnam days.
I love the stereotype and the stigma that they place on the feds.
On the feds.
They wear the suits and they show up and I'm in charge around here. And he's just looking up at the building, doesn't even look back at him.
No,
not anymore.
He doesn't have to. He's just, we're in charge. And then the whole, like, they're just completely okay. They're like, we'll probably lose 5 or 10 hostages.
I can live with that.
Yeah. And then they just casually get blown up. Like, there's not even a mention, like,
they don't even show them.
No, they don't even show them. Like, usually with characters of their stature, especially Robert Davi, he was a big timer even back then.
Yeah.
Like, at least show them, like, you know, some closure. It was just, they just casually melted and they disappeared. And not even Dwayne Robinson didn't even, all he said was like, whoa. Like,
well, and that's one of the lines I took a note of.
Oh, you did?
Is at that moment, he looks up and sees the helicopter get destroyed and says, well, I guess we're going to need some new FBI guys.
Another like an 80s talk weird shit.
Just as soon as you start to feel too emotional and invested in the movie, they just pull you back.
They had to pull you back
and let you know, like, it's okay. Well, let's keep it lighthearted.
Yeah. I mean, we just killed guys savagely, unnecessarily, and we'll just pass it on.
Once McClane realizes that the hostages are going to the roof, and McClane knows that they're going to blow the roof, and it's all trap, like the double cross that he's talking to Powell about. McClane runs up there and he starts shooting, trying to get them to run back downstairs.
Yeah.
He's already killed Carl by wrapping the chain around his neck and then throwing him down the line.
Right.
Supposedly so Carl's just hanging there
with the hostages walking.
Right. So then the hostages start running down the staircase.
Yeah.
Casually overacting 101 again here. As they're running down, like some of them are screaming, you know, they're just kind of waving their arms, like that's all normal. There's one guy about halfway through the line coming down the stairs, and there's no obstacle in front of him. He's just got a straight, just run. And he's doing like a zigzag, like he's at the NFL Combine or something.
Like he's dodging bullets like a cartoon. Just chewing it up, man.
The things you notice.
That's great. Yeah, I did not notice that either. I wonder if it was the same guy. I think the guy who kisses McClane is the same guy who's borking that chick in the office, who might be the same guy.
Maybe all the same guy.
Juking and jiving, yeah. He just, any way he can get screen time, he was like, yeah, I'll be that guy. Whatever you need.
Yeah, it was like he was doing lunges or something.
I got to go back and watch that. But another thing with Carl, he's like, he should have been dead. I mean, how long was he like on that chain before they wrapped him up? Not Carl.
No, it was Carl.
Yeah, Carl. Yeah,
Carl,
not Winslow. Yeah,
Carl the guy.
Yeah,
German Carl.
Right, Carl. They put him in the body bag and they give him his gun back in the body bag because when he was choked out, he didn't have the gun. They were fisticuffing or whatever, hand-to-hand combat at the time.
Correct. Yeah.
And then McClane strangles him with the chain, and he's hanging there because at the time he had both his hands on there trying to survive. In the body bag at the end, when he comes out for one foul swoop, like one final, shot, he's got his custom machine gun.
That's right.
In his hand, his dead, like lifeless hand, already, ready to go, locked and loaded. And then the other Carl, has to come in with his revolver. I don't know who's holding.
That's not customary, is to bury the terrorists in the body bag with their weapons.
With their weapons, is like a thing of honor.
Yeah. So
there are definitely some plot holes, but for an 80s movie, like they did a pretty good job closing the loop on some things.
Yeah.
Or at least, even if it was like a stupid, like the whole foot thing, it was like, we know what we're not trying to pretend we're this deep movie here. We're an 80s action movie. We're going to make fists with our toes.
So when Theo finally breaks into the vault and they play the music when the doors finally open.
Yeah, the like the symphony of music or
whatever. They start looking through. It's kind of an unimpressive vault on the inside. It was really small.
Yeah,
and
very secure, but very.
That's where the bearer bonds are.
Right.
There was also some other valuables in there. There was that little statue that the guy flicks with his hand.
Yep.
And there was a painting on the ground that was not in any sort of protective covering except for just a random strap around it.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't in plastic. It wasn't in a box or a case. It was so valuable to keep in Takagi's vault, but he left it on the floor like it was in his garage.
Yeah, like maybe he was waiting for construction to be done to put it up in that other floor.
Yeah, he threw his baseball cards in there too.
Yeah, his personal value. Right. But the bonds, I guess logically it made more sense that they were bearer bonds for like security purposes. And then they kind of explained how they were going to wash the money so that they can collect on it or whatever. Yep. But like from an 80s action movie standpoint, like you want to have piles of cash. That would have played better visually. Better. Yeah.
Than just these sheets of paper.
Yeah, they look
spilling everywhere.
They look like certificates, like from an online training you just took.
Right.
Yeah. So if they had piles of cash spilling out of the building at the end, I think it would have played a little bit better.
Well, that was the other note I took is the pieces of paper raining down at the end. Like they went really heavy on the pieces of paper.
A lot.
And they were all blank. Yeah. Those were not bearer bonds. They were blank sheets of
paper. They just opened a ream of paper and would just toss it out there.
It was a New York Yankees parade.
That's ticker tape. That was a budgetary thing. There, you know how like you have like you put the 20 on top of a bunch of ones to hide it. They had one bearer bond and the rest were just blanks.
We could talk about the whole Ellis Hans interaction.
Oh, before he got popped?
Yeah. When Ellis kind of loses his patience for sitting there.
Yeah. But that whole interaction, it was interesting from like a business salesman standpoint because he had good salesman tactics for there was a lot of things he said and did that were like, yeah, that makes like, if you're trying to sell snake oil, this is how you do it. But then he also had things that were just like, I think for the character to prove that he was still a selfish like shitbag and he was never going to, that's why he's not the top guy. Like he's not Takagi or anything because he kept like, he would say something like, he would talk about like, this is a business deal. You know, I got what you're looking for, you know, trying to let them know, like, this is what I can do for you as opposed to, you know, give me something in return.
Well, he says business is business. You use a gun, I'll use a fountain pen.
Right. And of course he had to say fountain pen because that's like classy and more official, whatever. But then he goes, let's put it in my terms.
Right.
Which in business is not like you want to put it in their terms. You're trying to sell them on something. So that was like a little selfish thing. And then he was bragging about it. I was like, I'm your white knight.
Yeah.
Like,
his ego was off the charts.
Yeah. It was
just asking for the soda and then giving him one.
Yeah.
I mean, they knew at that point they were going to kill him anyway. So
yeah. As soon as he started talking, Hans knew like he was toying with him. He was batting the bunny around a little bit, which made it even a better interaction because he's like, oh, you're very, what does he say? You're very quick or something like that.
You're very perceptive.
Yeah. And what's his name?
I watched 60 Minutes. Yeah. I know what's going on.
Ellis is so clueless and so in his own ego that he has no clue that Hans is being sarcastic. Like he sees right through you, dude.
I think even when McClane stopped responding and he just goes, yeah. And then Hans kind of smiles back at him and shoots him.
Yeah. Well, you're dead.
But he still at that point took a sip of the Coke without even knowing at that point that he's going to get shot.
Yeah, he still thought that like he's playing hardball.
Let's just wait for McClane to answer.
Yeah, we'll wait. And these guys don't have time. Hans doesn't have time to wait.
He does a subtle nod too in that conversation with McClane over the radio where he says, just give these guys a detonator. Say, I'm putting my life on the line for you, pal. And he goes,
like he's like, I got him. I got it right where I want him.
Like, how about that for acting?
He was just so in love with himself. John Boy.
Ellis? John, how can you say that after all these years?
That another quick funny story. this is for everybody else. We talk on a pretty regular basis, phone calls, catching up.
Yeah.
And you have a successful, happy family. You're usually like, when you call or when I call, it's after work. Everyone's home. You're with your family. You're with you're next to your wife usually. And our beginning interaction on every phone call, no matter what, I'll call or you'll call, and you immediately start with you just are Ellis. You start the conversation as Ellis, and I'll be like, "Hello," and you're like, "Hey, John Boy." And you can hear your wife in the background of the phone, like, "Oh, here we go again."
Well, you do share the same name as Detective McClane.
That's right.
Hey, John Boy.
And little does she know, I'm returning fire in the conversation. So she's probably going to hate me. When
she thinks you're rolling your eyes, frustrated. But
right.
Really, your response is, Ellis?
And it's so stupid because every time I see you're calling, I'm like, here we go. I was like, do I remember my lines?
Right. That's right.
And meanwhile, your wife probably thinks like, leave that poor guy alone.
Yep.
And I'm in on it. Sorry.
Yep. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop ever.
No. But that's those are little things that like they sound stupid on the surface, but if that stops, then I know there's a problem. If you call and you don't do that, then I'll be like, "What?
This is serious.
Are you all right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, what's going on?" So
No,
now it's an
police.
indicator. Yeah. I'll get on the emergency channel and call the police.
It's my life alert.
Yeah.
If I don't start a conversation in a movie line, call the police.
Yeah, something's wrong under duress. My wife's got me hostage. But what else you got?
Well, so Theo, I got a little blip on Theo just because I used to watch Walker, Texas Ranger pretty often.
Yeah, me too. My brother and Nicky Sticks did as well.
Because, I mean, I think we are kind of drawn to cheesy fight scenes, and you're not going to get cheesier fight scenes than Walker, Texas Ranger.
Yeah.
With the sound effects.
That Chuck Norris.
Roundhouse kicks and
the punches and kicks sounded like they were taking two 2x4s and slapping them together. It was great.
Yeah, and there was the I mean, there's so many clips from that, but I mean, just Trevette being his character in that, and then knowing that was after Theo. I mean, you kind of see the traces of just the energy and the cheesiness of that character just being kind of an odd ball to be mixed in with those German terrorists. They don't really explain where Theo came from, how he got hooked up with them.
Right. You know why he's there as far as like skill set, because he's the hacker. He's the network guy is going to hack the vault, get into the to that weird technology that they don't know about.
Right.
But how he got recruited, like where, like, did they go look in the classifieds, how that all came about? It would have been interesting to see, because he was obviously, he was an energetic, like,
he has a unique personality for that film,
right?
To be a bad guy, but then eating popcorn and watching surveillance footage saying the police have themselves an RV.
Yeah. He's like a weird comic relief. These guys are all
the quarterback is toast.
They're all business and serious, and like he's the American, like he's a pretty stereotypical American, like goober almost, but he's also like super smart. He knows all the tactics, which is another thing they kind of didn't explain out, is like they all knew, like he definitely knew all the police tactics and the feds, what they were going to do next.
Well, so Hans did, because remember Theo kept saying, well, I could drill through the first 6 locks, but you know, the 7th one is electromagnetic and you can't shut that circuit off locally.
Right.
And then Hans was like, just trust me. And then eventually the feds come and follow their playbook.
Yeah, they all knew the play. They knew the playbook.
Which so that's when Hans is like, Theo, you asked for a miracle. I give you the FBI.
It was diabolical. Right, like that was in his notebook. Like that's what the thing to say next was.
So that leads me to Hans saying, well, we're going to blow the roof. And by the time they finish sifting through the wreckage, thinking we're dead, we'll be sitting on a beach earning 10%.
Yeah. It was like 20%, which sounds awesome. Compound interest, 20%.
So Hans sitting on a beach, though, he doesn't seem like a beach guy.
No, he's wearing a suit. With his John Phillips suit.
Right.
Or whatever it was, Frank Phillips. Yeah. He's not on a beach.
Yeah.
No.
Goes in the ocean with a shirt on. Is that guy?
he's wearing a suit, but like the pants are shorts, like one of those Bermudan suits or whatever. Yeah, he would be plotting his next thing. But I did like that little dynamic of having this American that they just recruited for the job, and then all these guys were no nonsense. Grandparents were definitely Nazis, kind of individuals.
Yeah, they were well funded.
Yes,
very slick.
Yeah. What did he say?
Said.
Yeah, that's well funded and well trained. Yeah, well trained or well prepared or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
How do you figure that?
Seen enough fake IDs. No, the ones these guys got cost a fortune.
What did he say when Carl was telling Dwayne Robinson? He's like, he mentioned the fake being able to see a lot of fake.
In fact, I think he's a cop.
Yeah.
How can you tell that? Things he said, like being able to spot a fake ID. Be a bartender for all we know.
Al.
Jesus Christ, pal.
Yeah, that's what he said. Jesus, pal. He really was just completely discrediting. Like, how do you do that to a peer, almost another cop? Like, you don't think Carl knows what he's talking about even a little bit?
Yeah, the disrespect.
It was blatant disrespect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he had disrespect for everybody. Like you said, he walks in to a region full of only cops and has to flash his badge to let them know that he's also a cop. Like,
they did that on purpose. That was to show you who he was.
Yeah, an idiot. Like
there was the SWAT team leader, who I believe is uncredited, who's standing next to Powell and
send in the car.
No, so when he says that, he says it like he's got like some sort of cramp in his jaw because he does the send in the car.
Yeah,
send in the car.
That's like our old baseball coach, Chef.
Right.
He had an excuse, though. He broke his jaw.
Send in the car.
That guy has one, which is weird because you usually don't go on credit with a line.
Mm-hmm.
He sent it in like another arrogant move. For whatever reason,
they're
LA,
almost through. They're almost through.
Yeah.
Get him out of there.
In every law enforcement agency in this movie in LA, they're all just loaded with arrogant idiots,
highly dysfunctional. Major metropolitan area.
Yeah, like how I mean, no wonder that city's in shambles now.
Right.
But yeah, they have this ridiculous car. What do they think they were going to do? Just like run through the building and then what? Everyone's on the 30th floor. Like, they have the high ground. They see you coming.
They had 4 guys.
Yeah,
trying to get. So here's the thing.
In a mini little go-kart tank.
They go up to the doors, and what are they trying to do? Because they try something.
Maybe try to blow it or cut the glass.
The one guy says it's not going. Cut it, and that's when they have the blowtorch to try to cut the lock.
Maybe try to pick the lock.
Then the terrorist starts shooting at them when Hans is like, only wound them.
Yeah.
First bullet shatters the entire glass. Just shoot the glass and walk right in.
No, they had to pick the lock, which is another thing. It's like, how incompetent was law enforcement in that area? Because you're trying to creep through a glass window. They're watching you, not just on cameras, but they're looking right through the door. They see you like trying to pick a lock. They're just like
pointing a machine gun at you.
Yeah, like, please come in. Like, do you not see us here? Like, it was just wild how stupid and clueless every cop was, except for fat Twinkie eating Carl.
So the C4 that McClane gets his hands on.
Yeah, which he thought was all of it.
He jams it onto the computer chair with the monitor.
Yeah.
And wraps it in the cord.
Sends it.
Now, I'm no explosives expert. Is that the way that works?
I don't
jam it with a computer monitor and it'll blow up.
I guess. Well, did he have the detonators yet? He might have used one of the detonators.
How does that work?
I don't know. Oh, I know in the movies what you do is
that thing looked like a chapstick.
Yeah,
you jam it in.
You take the pen,
then jam it with a computer monitor.
You jam it in the clay.
Okay.
Then the putty, and then you put.
Now you can just throw it at anybody.
Then you put a wire also in the putty.
Okay.
And then you do some sort of forceful action, whether it's like throwing it against a wall or throwing it down an elevator shaft. And that apparently ignites all bombs in 80s movies. That's how it's done.
When McClane threw that chair down the elevator shaft, he didn't know where it was going to land.
No, because he didn't know where the elevator was.
Okay. The elevator ended up being on the 30th floor because that's where it blew up. Was Or no, it was one floor off, right? It was where the guy was with the missiles. He was rolling like a case of
so if I remember correctly, one floor, 31st floor was where they were rolling the cases of cruise missiles.
Yep.
32nd floor was the construction floor.
Okay. Yep.
And then I think like one or two floors above that was the roof.
The fire has been called off, my friend.
My friend. He goes, mein friend, like the German. Like
he goes, come out now. I promise I will not hurt you.
And the first thing he does, he loops around and starts firing, starts blasting. And he's dead.
You won't hurt me because you're a policeman.
Trying to play the weakness.
Right.
Very cocky, that whatever his
name
was.
That guy was
Franz
and had size 7 shoes. So.
Yeah, that's why he was so cocky. He was compensating for his tiny feet. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how it blew up. I don't know how it made that much of an explosion. I mean, it must have had a lot of C4. And also
one little clay thing.
Yeah, but maybe that's why it didn't do damage. It was all show, no go. Just a lot of flames because it was contained in the shaft, the elevator shaft.
It's a lot of confidence for throwing C4 down an elevator shaft of a building for a New York City police officer.
Yeah, with no detonation device. It was a computer monitor.
Yeah, well, that's I don't know if it has to be like, is there a specific brand of computer monitor that you have to jam that with on a computer chair?
A Presario? I don't know.
Would a folding chair work? Does it have to have wheels?
Does that the wheel? Yeah. What else did he know that we didn't? Maybe they did that on purpose so that people wouldn't go in real life and try to do it.
Yeah.
Like MacGyver or whatever. I don't know, but it worked for him.
Well, then when he's up on the roof and this is getting towards the end. Well, I guess first let's talk about his interaction face to face with Hans.
Which the first one, the Bill Clay?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions about this. So,
me too.
So they stumble upon each other, right? Like Hans jumps down from where the bombs are and McClane is standing right there.
I just had an epiphany, but go ahead. Keep going.
He says, hi. And he immediately thinks quick on his feet and does the, oh, no, you're one of them, aren't you?
No.
No. Which was pretty solid.
It was good, yeah.
And McClane seemingly believes him and gives him the unloaded gun and says, you want to stay alive, stick with me, something to that effect. And as soon as he starts walking away, he hears on the radio Hans talking in German to his comrades.
Yep.
And McClane knew all along because he gave him the empty gun.
Right.
How was McClane so sure?
This is what I just realized now. Here's why. And
because the test of what's your name and McClane's looking at the directory, he gets it right. It was William Clay.
Yeah, but did you see what floor William Clay worked on? He did not work on the 30th floor. And the security guard in the beginning of the movie said, hey, they're up at the 30th floor. They're the only ones in the building. So why would Bill Clay be in the movie or be in the building if he didn't?
Bill Clay couldn't work on another floor.
He wasn't
invited to the party.
He didn't work for that company. That's not how it works.
So because the number
that's the only thing I can think of.
The number didn't match.
That's the only thing, and I just thought of it now. I haven't even had a chance to dig into it.
But how would Hans be that sloppy then? Why wouldn't Hans just pick somebody?
I think because he was just looking at.
So Hans was just
I think
quickly reading the.
I think he was just quickly reading it because he also shouldn't have known unless he was prepared. Like unless he was prepared to know that they were only going to be like on the 30th floor or whatever. Yeah. But he was not. The security guard didn't tell him that they were the only ones there, and I think he just randomly saw the name. Is like, this is a real guy's name, so I'll just be him. Okay. I think that's the only thing I can think of because I had like for years. That's the same question I had is like,
how did he know?
Hans checked all the boxes.
Yeah.
He answered the questions. He had the accent.
He was dressed as a business.
He was dressed as a business guy, which like maybe coincidentally it worked out for Hans because we still don't know why he wore a suit. And he gave a name of a real guy that was vetted immediately by looking at the sign. The only thing I can think of is that he was from a different floor, different whatever. I don't know. Or McClane knew like, he took one look in the party when he walked in and he immediately remembered faces.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
But McClane outsmarted him once again.
So when the roof is about to blow up, McClane is up there with his bloody feet, and he knows that Hans took Holly to the vault, and he knows he's got to get back down there.
Yeah.
To the 30th floor. That's when he grabs the fire hose.
Yep.
Why does he do that?
I think because he didn't think he was going to have enough time to go down like the steps. The elevator was shot. Couldn't do that. Maybe he thought that was the quickest way because they were going to take her. I don't know. That's what I was thinking too, is like
kind of a random move.
Yeah. All the other bad guys are gone. They're not like, just go down the steps.
Right.
So I thought maybe it was just quicker. But also, like, the odds of success were so much lower. Like mathematically speaking,
so
I'll take the extra 30 seconds running down the steps.
Did he land at the right window? Exactly the 30th floor?
Yeah, for the movie.
With the fire hose?
Yeah. For the movie, it worked out perfectly. Because he lands, he goes through the glass, and then he ends up in like an office or whatever. And then he
goes out to the
lobby where they had the party,
right,
into the water fountain and shit,
yeah.
right there. So yeah, he just,
and that's where
the hose
there was
length.
another explosion at that point.
Yeah, that's when they blew the roof because Hans said blow the roof. At that point,
they blew the roof as he was jumping off with the hose.
Yes.
Because as it was exploding, the base of the hose was like dangling towards the edge.
I thought it was
because he jumped just in time with the hose wrapped around him as it exploded.
Maybe.
But then there was a second explosion as he's in the lobby because he's got to jump into the fountain.
See, yeah. I know what it was because I was confusing the timeline. Yeah. The explosion goes off as he jumps initially. Mm-hmm. He gets to the window. As he gets to the window and has to go into the fountain, that's when the FBI helo explode.
Oh, that's right.
I think that's the timeline matchup there. That's when the Johnsons get popped.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, and then he had to go high because it was that other explosion.
Right.
That they just casually sloughed off in the movie.
Yeah. And it was
I guess because nobody liked the Agents Johnson.
Yeah, they kind of called an audible with them pretty abruptly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe middle of filming, they were just we're done with these guys. Robert Davi had to go film Goonies, so he had to bail early. But then
it's the final showdown with Hans.
Yeah, Hans and Huey Lewis.
Yep.
Trevette is down in the basement now at this
trying
point.
To make a getaway in the
ambulance. Their ambulance getaway, which initially I was thinking, well, maybe that's why he wore the suit, Hans, because he can get away in the ambulance, but obviously it wouldn't work out because who's just strolling along in a suit in an ambulance?
They'd be hiding in the back anyways.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Trevette driving them.
Right. So he's doing his thing, and that's when Argyle finally gets his head out of his ass and does something about it, and runs it over, runs the car over. And then he gives him the punch of a 10-year-old.
So let's talk about the punch or the sound effect that was dubbed in for the punch.
I mean, let's talk about it.
Because he rams the ambulance so he can't get out.
Right.
The window is down. He hops up on the hood of his own limo and reaches through the window and does a...
That was it. You don't even hear every other sound effect in the movie, every other fighting scene. When someone's getting punched, you can hear it. It's audible. This one
knocks him out cold.
Yeah, that was one punch stun gun with a silent. He must have had a compressor because you didn't hear a damn thing. It's when you see those videos of tiny guys jumping in, doing cannonballs in the water, and they just dub over the sound with a water drop, boop. That's what it was like. He rears back and socks someone, and all you just hear is that was it.
That's what it sounded like.
Nothing. It was just nothing. But and it did it. And that's, I guess, because Trevette or Theo was just a computer nerd. He was not a tough guy in real life. I don't know what it was.
He had a glass jaw.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Huey Lewis and the News are trying to make their final break. Holly's tits are everywhere. I couldn't stop looking at them. I didn't realize she was out and about at the end there.
So Hans grabs her when he sees McClane.
Yeah.
And that's like I got the gun to her head hostage. And then
Yep.
Huey Lewis is just kind of standing there taking it all in.
Yeah, he's next to the little push cart and he sees the gun
Yeah.
hanging from the cart. He's trying to slide over, over to grab the gun.
And McClane at this point has his secondary weapon taped to his back.
Yeah. So real quick, he drops his primary, which I believe was empty already. It was a bluff. He drops it, and that's when Huey Lewis goes to grab the gun, and Hans says, "No, I got this myself," because Huey was going to pop him. He's got the gun taped to his back with the shipping tape, the packaging tape. The gun is, if you look at the tape job, you're not getting that gun off your back and already being finger in trigger, ready to go. Like,
not with box tape.
He would have to pull that out with two hands and be like, 1 second, Hans, and then like get the tape off the gun and be like, all right, now I got you.
Yep.
So I don't know how they made that work, but I guess McClane
maybe because he was so bloody and sweaty, it was making the tape all but defective at that
right.
point.
Yeah. It compromised the integrity of the tape.
But then there was the laughing of that scene
between him.
Everybody
and Hans
starts laughing,
except for Holly. Was she laughing?
He drops the weapon. No, Holly wasn't laughing. They all start laughing because McClane is basically delirious at this point. He's so beat up.
Yeah, he's losing blood.
Yeah, and they're all just laughing hysterically at each other. And just instead of shooting him.
Yeah, that's such a movie tactic though, for whatever reason.
Right.
Just
have to draw out the final confrontation.
Right. To give the good guy a chance to untape his gun.
Because in reality, as soon as they lay eyes on him, they're shooting him.
They're popping him. Right. And the movie would have been over hours ago.
And McClane makes a miraculous shot. 2 shots.
2 bullets, 2 shots.
One to the head of Huey Lewis.
Yep.
We should learn his name.
Yeah, I don't know his real name.
And then a 1 to the midsection of Hans.
Yeah.
After he does that, while Hans still has hold of his wife, falling backwards towards an open window, McClane pauses and blows off the pistol and says, "Happy trails, Hans."
Right. He did,
and then has to scramble.
And then he's like, "Oh shit." Oops.
He really is a cowboy.
Roy
Rogers.
He really is.
Call me Roy.
An ass bag. And then, of course, like looping it all, closing it all together with Ellis's watch that he was bragging about. And that was when he, in the beginning, when he's like, "Show the watch." And she goes, "I'll do it later." That was later. That's when he got to see the watch. It really did. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm surprised Hans didn't fire off one final pop shot on his way back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess all the blank pieces of paper were blinding him or something on the way down.
Yeah, they really blew the copy room to smithereens.
Yeah. But I guess one of the biggest debate questions, which I've discussed before this, on the Christmas episode, and people have discussed back and forth.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it's still such a hotly contested question of whether or not it's a Christmas movie.
You don't think it's debatable?
No.
All right, let's hear your thoughts on that.
So I had a couple of thoughts back and forth of what I thought about it, but then I heard an interview that made all the sense in the world to me from Bruce Willis. And because, of course, he's a cocky son of a bitch himself, rightfully so, they asked him, "Hey, this is a famed debate. What do you think it is? Is it an action? What do they say? An action movie or a Christmas movie?"
I think it's just, is it a Christmas movie or not?
And he goes, "No, it's a Bruce Willis movie." And they just walks off the interview.
I'm sure he loves getting that question
1,000 times because he's probably rehearsed the answer and how he's going to walk off and all this other shit. And I was just like, well, I guess you can't argue with that.
What's your opinion on
it? I guess technically, if I'm going to be objective about it, if I'm going to be objective about it, I would say it's not a Christmas movie only because I could watch it all year round. And there's maybe one other actual Christmas movie I can do that to, and that's like Home Alone. And that's not because of the Christmas aspect. It's because Pesci and Daniel Stern and John Candy are just like, I can watch them do anything.
Right.
So otherwise, the movie doesn't, the movie holds up outside of the holiday.
I think that's the only question you have to ask is, if I saw Die Hard pop on TV in July, would I think it's strange?
Absolutely not.
You wouldn't.
No.
You wouldn't say, why are they playing this? This is a Christmas movie. But if they start playing Miracle on 34th Street or It's a Wonderful Life, you're going to say,
a little early.
A little early.
Yeah. Now, Hallmark does the Christmas in July. Sucks me right in every year. but everything else.
No, I think that's the only test. That is the test.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. I don't even remember what I'd said beforehand. I'll have to go back to the Christmas episode and even the one with my brother to see if I talked about it there. If I had an opinion there.
I think Nick had a pretty strong opinion that it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, well, he also thinks it's like a Hans Gruber movie where Takagi is the bad guy.
He completely misinterpreted the plot.
So I'm curious. I'll have to go back and listen to his thought process there because I'm pretty sure I call him out or disagree with him wholeheartedly there.
Well, I don't know. I understand how people can get sucked into thinking that because it's played
groupthink
in concert with A Christmas Story and Home Alone and Elf and It's a Wonderful Life, all those great ones.
Yeah. But, and it takes place in like they're at a Christmas party. Got it.
Yeah.
And there's a tree there.
People.
Yeah. But
you would never see it outside of the Christmas season and say they shouldn't be playing this.
No,
it's not Christmas.
And Die Hard 2 takes place in the same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
It's another holiday time frame where he's trying to fly out somewhere.
Right.
Or fly back from somewhere or whatever. So that's not even, nobody questions that whatsoever.
Nope.
And I don't know why. Because they make just as much mention to holidays as they do in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think they end it with the same song.
Yeah.
The Christmas song by whoever sings it, Boris Karloff or some shit. So
that's another one we should really dive into.
Number 2
is 2 and 3.
Yeah.
2 is pretty solid.
I think
3 is solid too. I think they're all good, but
yeah, see 3 is really good because Hans Gruber's brother, Michael Irons, whatever.
Right.
He's an incredible actor and he plays such a good bad guy and like really a diabolical guy in that movie. And plus Sam Jackson's in it. But 2 is super underrated, I think.
So 2, you have who is it? The guy who was the senator, Fred Thompson. Yeah. Senator of New York. As the air traffic control.
Yeah, the lead
supervisor.
Yeah, or I don't know if he was the airport supervisor or what. Yeah.
Well, let's rack them, stack them, and crack them.
Yeah.
Get these bulls on the ground. The outer marker. That guy, the big puffy coat.
That little guy, yeah, he played a good part. No,
right.
I haven't seen him since.
No,
but
I don't know what he would be in.
And then Sipowicz played the standard.
Right.
He was in DC with a Chicago accent,
and also like just saying like all the we know it because we live here, but all the references to that being in DC.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like 30 miles outside DC.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's apparently it's in the heart of DC according to the movie. Right. And the airport itself in the film, I actually looked this up a while ago. It was filmed in LA. Most of it was at LA airport. And then there was like some closed down airport that they did a lot of shit in.
Yeah.
So none of it was realistic.
I've actually watched 3 more than 2.
Yeah, me too. They play it more on TV.
Yeah.
Because they have some more heavy hitters.
Yeah.
Like Sam Jackson. Yeah. They love him.
What the hell are you doing, McClane?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
A good, like the good Simon Says trickery and stuff that they made him do.
Every time you heard Simon make a phone call, you're like, oh no, what's next?
Yeah. That was a fun like thing to follow.
It took me a few dozen times watching that movie to figure out how they solved the water jug riddle. I had to watch
the 531
again. Yes.
Whatever it was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they talked through it so fast of like agreeing on the solution of I take the 5 gallon jug and 3 gallon, fill this 3 gallon, then dump it in 4 gallons. And they all just kind of like mumble through it and say, "You're a genius, McLean."
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, actually, that's true.
And so I had to really break down what
Do
they
the
actually
math,
did,
yeah.
and then it made sense. But
I still don't remember. They only had one 5 gallon jug, right?
they had a 5 gallon jug and they had a 3 gallon jug.
And they had to get 4 gallons.
They had to fill the 5 gallon jug with exactly 4 gallons of water.
That's right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they filled the 5 gallon jug with 3 gallons of water.
So they filled the 3 gallon, they dump it into the 5 gallon.
So now they have 2 gallons of empty space.
Right.
And then fill the 3 gallon jug
Again.
mm-hmm. And then dump it into the 5 gallon jug. So that leaves
1 gallon left in the 3 gallon jug.
Right.
Okay. So then they dump the 5 gallon empty, dump that 1 gallon from the 3 into the 5, and then a full 3 into the 5,
right.
4 gallons.
That's it.
We did it.
That's it.
There's no way
they figured that out.
There's no way
quickly.
some
under duress.
Yeah, some stressed out, broken like New York cop and his angry electrician buddy who doesn't even like him. They're gonna figure that out that quickly with the time running out. It took two alphas just now. What, a minute?
Can you hotwire this car? Yeah. There's just one problem. Takes too damn long.
Stupid. That was a fun one. I think that's why they play it more, because of the acting, like the better actors, and then it was just a fun.
It has its share of ridiculous scenes.
Oh, for sure.
McLean pulling the splinter out of his shoulder.
Yeah,
to pick the lock.
Yeah, that's wild.
What about a splinter from one of those cables?
Yeah, stand by. Yeah, one of the toughest, like in movies of people trying to escape stuff. That was the most unrealistic I've seen. Where that and maybe. No, not even. No, it was that. I was going to say Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, where they were trying to burn the rope, but they didn't even get to that. They burned the house down instead.
Right.
But that was unrealistic. And number 2, I liked it, but it was more serious than 3. It wasn't as like campy.
They involve like children, school bombs. As soon as they involve like there's a bomb in a school,
it's big time.
And like the opening scene of the movie is a terrorist attack on the subway.
In the third one.
The third one.
Yeah.
I mean, they open with a bang, like the explosion.
Yeah. But it all played into each other.
Yeah.
And they even talked through the school, because that was a decoy bomb.
Right.
To get them to waste time, I think, while they were rolling out their gold bullion.
Yeah, just to get everyone out of the financial district.
Right. Yeah, and then the first attack in the subway was what closed off a certain area so that they have access to it by themselves. It was all very well thought out.
Yep.
The second one was they had a good thought out plan for their goals, but it was just more serious. Like it wasn't as let's follow along and see if we could solve these riddles as well. It was just
it was a little cheeky with the whole like that whole military unit like being in on
that secret unit that just happened. Now they're in, like they're all in, not just the guy, not like just
they happen to be the ones responding. They happen to be the ones that took over, and
everything was like that's not how it works in real life. You don't as a terrorist, you don't get to custom request what military unit comes after you.
Yeah, right.
And even if you think like, they'll send out the elite, teams to go after us. There's like dozens of versions of the elite teams that they can pick any one at any given time. Like not everyone is like, it's not one team always on call forever.
It's the same 10 guys.
Right. It's like, no, they're on rotations. They're depending on the location. They have to have people ready everywhere all the time. So the odds of them picking his old college buddy or whatever the hell he was to go and get the whole team on board too, not just the leader.
Right. They all had to be paid off.
They all had to be like really elite, highly trained military operatives, and they all had to be bad guys
that really know how to drive a snowmobile.
Yeah, not likely.
Right.
So, but it was still fun. But what I want to do really is got to get my Nikki Sticks on
Yeah.
and talk through it. So because we have to really
We can
unpack
deep
some of
dive.
his,
Yeah.
we had to deep dive some of the theories that he's got in his little cockamamie brain up there. Because I would love to get to the bottom of the Takagi antagonist theory.
Yeah.
That's a wild one.
I'm not quite there yet myself.
Considering he was the first to die in the whole movie.
He's not the victim. He's the bad guy.
Yeah, trust me. He's coming back. But I guess we could cut it there.
Yeah.
You got anything else in your notes?
No, that was it. We did everything.
Yeah, so we'll get you back on. We'll talk. We could talk shop, again some other time. We'll get Nick on. We'll talk more Die Hard. That's enough. That's a fun saga. Yeah. I can talk about it all day. So we'll get you back on. Before we go though, got to talk about the big three.
Let's do it.
As you know. So for those who don't listen, the three things I say that I think if you do every day and try to do every day, it'll help you be a happier, better, more positive, less stressed person in your life. And that'll kind of carry over to other people's lives. So number one, exercise every day. Just do something. You do it. You have a full-time job and a kid, and you still find the time to do it. Even if it's something little, you're doing it in front of the TV with the kids strapped to you or whatever. Anything to get moving. It helps you physically, mentally, emotionally. Number two, probably the toughest one and the easiest to forget about is don't be a shitty person. I think one of the easiest things nowadays is to get behind the keyboard cowboy, the text message tough guy, whatever you want to call it, and be that like shitbag troll to somebody who you think is like, oh, it's just an Instagram handle. I'll just fire off a shit talk and be done with it. I showed them. I really got that jab in, but they're a human being. And anybody who has gotten bullied as a kid or has gotten hate online knows it feels shitty because like this person doesn't know me. They don't know anything about what I've gone through and how this affects me. So think about that before you go and fire off those shit talks. And then number three, I think the most important one is to be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good that you have in your lives. It's really easy to get lost in the fog of the negative day to day, especially when that's like the media's profit playbook is to push out negativity. It's easy to just get engulfed by that and think everything is bad and everything's an obstacle. If you change your mindset, slowly but surely change your mindset to think about all the good in your lives and be grateful for it, your attitude will be more positive. You'll be thinking about the good on a more regular basis, and that carries over. That spreads to other people. And I always say good is just as contagious as bad. We just don't see it as often because bad, negative sells better right now. So remember those big three. Terrence, this is all. I'm grateful for you being able to do this. This was awesome.
Likewise. Thank you for having me.
I could do this every day. I know you have a life, so we can't, but we do have to get that footage out to the people one of these days, the locker room talk.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll break it up into a couple of different teaser clips or something, but we'll get that out there. Thank you again for sacrificing your time to be here with us. We'll get you back on. You have any social medias you want to put out there?
No.
I don't think so. Nothing?
No.
Nothing you want to advertise?
Nothing.
All right, good. You can find them
it's one day at
nowhere.
Yeah. You don't need to find me.
Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you guys every day. I love you all. Stay strong.